Charles Nottingham, Felice Smith, Darren Sobin, and Melissa Tucker. And together we constitute a quorum for this meeting. Since it was first posted, the agenda has not changed. So I ask board members to please take a few minutes to review the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda for today's meeting. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, the board has adopted the agenda for today's meeting. Before us today are the April 2024 draft meeting minutes. Will a member please make a motion that we consider approval of the meeting minutes from April?
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that the board consider approval of the April 2024 meeting minutes. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain since I was unable to be at the last meeting, but I've read through the notes and so
Okay.
but I guess I shouldn't be voting on it since I wasn't here to compare.
Okay. Of those who were here, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the board approves the April 2024 meeting minutes. Next, we will hear a report from the Office of Open Government. Niquelle Allen, Director of the Office of Open Government, will provide the report on behalf of the office. Director Allen, please proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairperson Hutcheson and members of the board. I am Niquelle Allen, Director of Open Government, and I am pleased to present this report on the activities of the Office of Open Government, also known as OOG. Since the last board meeting, OOG has continued to fulfill its mission of ensuring that all persons receive full and complete information regarding the affairs of the District of Columbia government and the actions of those who represent them. I will begin with Open Meetings Act, or OMA, and Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, advice provided by OOG. One advisory opinion was issued. It is Ashton Community Advisory Team, Advisory Opinion number OOG-2024-008, that I issued in response to a request for advice regarding whether the Ashton Community Advisory Team is a public body subject to the OMA. OOG previously issued advisory opinions that have broadened our interpretation to include public bodies that have not been established by a mayor's order or statute, but by a subordinate agency or office. Entities that are considered public bodies include task forces and other bodies that were created with the intent to impact district operations and inform policy. I concluded that the Ashton Community Advisory Team and comparable community advisory teams are subject to the OMA because the entity met this description. A copy of the opinion is in Dropbox. Informal advice provided by the office is as follows. Since the last board meeting, OOG has responded informally via email or telephone to requests for assistance as follows: 5 requests for OMA advice, 2 requests for FOIA advice, and 9 requests for technical assistance with open-dc.gov. Next is meeting monitoring. OOG staff attends public bodies meetings in person and remotely to ensure compliance with the OMA. They also inspect public bodies' websites and OOG's central meeting calendar for public meeting notices and records. OOG's attorneys provide legal advice on OMA compliance and take corrective action if necessary. During April 2024, OOG's legal staff attended 28 public body meetings. As a result of the monitoring, OOG communicated 3 corrective measures. The public bodies failed to do the following: 1, post a detailed agenda; 2, enter into closed session properly; and 3, cite the Open Meetings Act regulatory statement. The report of our training and outreach activity is as follows. Ethics Spring Training Confidentiality. On April 11th, the Office of the Attorney General, known as OAG, presented an ethics training on confidentiality of information. This session highlighted DC Rules of Professional Conduct 1.6. Chief Counsel Louis Neal, Trial Attorney Nicholas Weil, and Attorney Advisor Anthony J. Skirbo, and Paralegal Specialist Kimberly Brown attended the session. Complex Cases Simplified, Gaining Logistical Control from Calendaring to Courtroom. On April 17th, Veritech presented an introduction to technology-based tools for managing cases in complex litigation, such as publishing exhibits to selective populations of users, redaction tools, and secured access to virtual tribunals. Attorney Weil attended the presentation. Financial interest and disclosure. On April 19th, Attorney Weil completed the financial interest and disclosure module on the Office of Government Ethics Training portal. This was a self-training module that provided instructions on the policies that apply to district employees and certain family members with respect to disclosure of their financial interests. DC Bar's 2024 John Payton Leadership Academy. On April 22nd, Attorney Skirbo attended the opening session of the DC Bar's 2024 John Payton Leadership Academy, which is an intensive training program designed to help DC Bar members hone their leadership skills and develop pathways of professional leadership through involvement with the DC Bar and other organizations. On April 24th, Attorney Skirbo attended oral arguments at the DC Court of Appeals with the 2024 Payton class, and then met with Chief Judge Blackburn Rigsby and Associate Judges Howard and Shanker. Everything you wanted to know about experts, but were afraid to ask. On April 25th, Attorney Weil and Attorney Skirbo attended Everything You Wanted to Know About Experts But Were Afraid to Ask, presented by OAG. This course covered the law of lay versus expert or specialized opinion evidence in the district, including recent changes in the law. This session highlighted the evolution of the law regarding testimony, the federal rules of evidence, and relevant cases. Chief Counsel's meeting with the Director of Government Operations, DC National Guard. On April 25th, Chief Counsel Neal met with the Director of Government Operations for the DC National Guard, Marcus Hunt, who hosted a panel discussion with cadets of the Capitol Guardian Youth Challenge Academy in Laurel, Maryland. At the conclusion of that panel discussion, Chief Counsel Neal was invited by Director Hunt and the Director of the Academy, Mr. Philip Burke, to be the commencement speaker at the class's graduation ceremony on June 22nd at the University of the District of Columbia. Open Meetings Act training for the Climate Commitment Task Force. On May 1st, Attorney Weil presented an OMA training to the newly launched Climate Commitment Task Force. The task force was created by DC Law 24-176, the Climate Commitment Act of 2022. The purpose of the entity is to prepare an action plan for carbon neutrality for district government operations by 2040. The training covered OMA rules, regulations, and practical tips for conducting meetings in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The litigation and legislative update is as follows. With respect to litigation, I have no developments to report in ongoing cases since the last board meeting. With respect to legislation, the DC Council's committee's budget hearings and markups continue, including the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor's markup, which will convene at 11:30 a.m. on May 10th. On May 3rd, the Committee of the Whole holds its public hearing on the budget and financial plan. Note that the Mayor's proposed Budget Support Act would include an amendment to DC FOIA to reflect the Mayor's proposed elimination of the Office of the Ombudsperson for Children, but the effect of that amendment would be purely technical. The Budget Support Act is in Dropbox. Last in my report are administrative matters. First is the FY24-25 budget hearing update. OOG provided council member Bonds with supplemental information that she requested during the April 1st budget oversight hearing. We provided copies of the proposed legislation for included inclusion in the FY25 Budget Support Act that would provide OOG with meaningful OMA fines and penalties that could be issued through civil enforcement in DC Superior Court. Lastly, it is my pleasure to introduce the board to OOG's newest attorney advisor, Brandon Lewis. OOG welcomes Attorney Lewis to Bega on April 22nd. He is originally from Smyrna, Georgia, but he has called the district home for the last 14 years and is a proud Ward 5 resident. Attorney Lewis has had a long commitment to public service in DC, started with serving as an AmeriCorps volunteer prior to law school and holding positions with district and federal governments, including serving as an assistant attorney general with the criminal section of OAG, as well as associate counsel with the Department of Veterans Affairs Board of Veterans Appeals. Attorney Lewis received his Bachelor of Arts from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and his Juris Doctorate from William & Mary Law School. We are extremely pleased this talented attorney has joined Bega. This concludes the Office of Open Government's May 2nd report. I am happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Director Allen. We also welcome, I should say, welcome Attorney Lewis. Okay. Are there any questions for Director Allen?
Just a shout out to Mr. Skirbo and also our General Counsel, Raji Raj, for being selected to the John Payton Leadership Academy. A lot of people applied this year, and we had to make some very tough decisions. So very happy that you joined it. It's going to be one of the premier leadership academies in the country. And we have a reception tonight, and this applies to all attorneys in the room, DC Bar members, for our candidates who are running for DC Bar President-elect and board members. And the Leadership Academy members are invited, but also any other attorneys who would like to join us tonight. There's free food, free wine and beer, and it's a nice opportunity to engage with your bar association and meet the future candidates and leaders of the bar. So let us know.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from the Director of the Office of Government Ethics, Director Ashley Cooks. Director Cooks, please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairperson of the board. I'm Ashley. I'm pleased to present this report on the activities of the Office of Government Ethics, OGE. First, an update on the status of OGE operations. The information reported today regarding OGE's cases will not reflect any status changes that may occur because of actions taken by the board during today's meeting. For open investigations by status, we have a grand total of 47 matters. For open undocumented matters, we have 1. Pending state investigations by status, we have 43 matters that are closed pending collection, 6 matters that are stayed pending DC Superior Court case, 1 matter stayed for OAG False Claims Act case, 5 matters stayed for OIG investigation, for a grand total of 55 pending state investigations. By status, we have 26 matters that are closed pending collection, 4 matters that are open for a grand total of 30. Again, we currently have 47 open investigations and 12 matters that are stayed. The number of open preliminary and formal investigations includes 24 new matters. The investigative team resolved 12 investigations since the board last met. This total does not reflect the number of complaints that were dismissed for a lack of jurisdiction. OGE has continued its communications and referrals to the Chief Financial Officer's Central Collection Unit, CCU, for collection of delinquent debts. We have commenced monthly meetings with the CCU team and learned that approximately 3,000 has been collected to date. We are transferring over new debts and will continue to update the list monthly. According to CCU, 10 of the larger and older debts will be sent to the Office of the Attorney General for judgment through Superior Court. OGE published its quarterly complaint report for the second quarter of fiscal year 2024 yesterday. A copy was placed in the Dropbox for your review. Next is an update on training and outreach. First, professional development training is attended by staff. Auditor Courtney Walker attended how to create an Excel pivot table. Program coordinator Stan Kosick took communicating non-offensively. Chief of Staff Christina Mitchell attended Spring into Microsoft by the Office of the Chief Technology Officer and Communicating Strategically. Attorney Advisor Fran Van attended Compliance Ethics 2024. Attorney Advisor Marisa Jones took an overview of white-collar crime. General Counsel Wright attended Government Investigations 2024. Investigations of data breach and privacy concerns and parallel proceedings. Senior Board Attorney Lynn Tran and Attorney Advisor Maurice Eckel attended Everything You Need to Know About Experts for the Word Afraid to Ask, presented by the Office of the Attorney General. I'm pleased to announce that General Counsel was accepted into the D.C. Bar's John Payton Leadership Academy for the class of 2024. The Leadership Academy is an intensive training program designed to help D.C. Bar members hone their leadership skills and develop pathways of professional leadership through involvement with the D.C. Bar and other organizations. The goal of the program is to help participants increase self-awareness and fine-tune their leadership styles and skill sets, and to learn how to work with others in a way that brings out the best in people and organizations. The Academy started on April 22nd and ends on June 17th, 2020. For trainings conducted by staff, April was a busy month for ethics training. Since the April board meeting, OGE conducted 10 training courses, which included the April local hashtag training, the monthly ethics training, a quarterly board and commission, and agency trainings for the following: the Office of Returning Citizens, the Department of Licensing and Consumer Protection, the Office of the Advisory Neighborhood Commission, the Office of Unified Communications, specifically for FDS, the DC Health Benefit Exchange, and an OAG Hatch Act training. On Monday, April 28th, Attorney Advisor Van presented the April Ethics Council Brown Bag session on financial disclosure program updates. 22 ethics counselors attended and engaged in discussions about the FDS program and offered a forum to discuss any thoughts and to exchange ideas. A copy of the presentation was placed in the Dropbox. During April, 393 employees completed courses using our management system. The courses with the highest completion rates were financial disclosure and financial interest and disclosures, Board of Ethics and Government Accountability ethics training, and conflict of interest and overview. 340 employees completed our ethics training. For outreach, OGE is in the process of updating and implementing new training courses for the learning management system. OGE staff attended a Catalyst design course as the first step of updating our training courses. Supervisory Attorney H, who is the point of contact for this project and has begun updating the financial disclosure statement training. Last week, we met with LRN, the vendor that hosts our LMS, to discuss the best course of action for creating new courses. The LMS has provided the opportunity to train and teach and reach a broad audience of employees. With these updates, our goal is to fine-tune the ethics information we provide and increase the number of courses that are available in our system. OGE began its outreach initiative, Ask Bega, in which advisors will visit agencies and government buildings to provide ethics advice to employees, as well as information about the office. This initiative is a spinoff of Bega's roadshow that existed prior to the pandemic. This past Tuesday, attorney advisors Maurice Eccles and Marisa Jones visited the Department of Energy and provided advice. Next Ask Bega event will take place in June. Next is an update on advisory opinions and advice. First is info advice. OGE's legal staff provides advice for 38 ethics inquiries, which is 7 more than the 31 reported at the last board meeting. This number does not include responses we are providing to questions regarding the lobbyists and FDS e-filing systems. For formal advisory opinions, on March 29th, OGE published an advisory opinion entitled Media for Official Purposes by District Government Elected Officials and District Government Employees. The 30-day comment period extended through April 29th, and a few comments have already been received. This opinion is complicated by a recent Supreme Court opinion from March 15th, so OGE will update the opinion and post it for a second comment period. A copy of the advisory opinion and the recent Supreme Court opinion were placed in the Dropbox. OGE is in the process of publishing an advisory opinion, Advisory Neighborhood Commission sign-on letter, which responds to the Office of the Advisory Neighborhood Commission's request for advice on the parameters around drafting and sending of its sign-on letters by advisory neighborhood commissioners. Specifically, OANC would like this office to identify the circumstances under which it is appropriate for commissioners to pay in sign-on letters in their official capacity. Once finalized, the opinion will be published in the D.C. Register for a 30-day comment period. Next is an update on legislation and rulemaking. The only update there is the financial disclosure rulemaking. OGE has identified boards and commissions that do not meet the definition of public official under DC Official Code Section 1-1161.0147 and don't file financial disclosure statements, even though they engage in conduct that creates a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest. OGE drafted a proposed rulemaking that would designate those board and commission members as public financial disclosure statement filers. The proposed rulemaking was posted in the DC Register on March 29, 2024 for a 30-day comment period and was emailed to all ethics counselors. Also, a press release was posted on the Bega website. To date, we have received 2 comments, one from an affected board and the other from the Executive Office of the Mayor, and a request to consider a comment after the deadline, which OGE will allow. We will provide the board with an update regarding the comments at the next board meeting. Next is an update on OGE administrative matters. Just one update there is the 2025 budget oversight hearing. Becca appeared before the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor for its FY25 budget oversight, 2024. Both OOG and OGE provided information and testimony on the agency's current budget and the FY25 enhancement request. OGE sent supplemental responses to questions raised at the hearing on April 12th. Next is an update on financial disclosure statement, FDS. Pursuant to DC Official Code Sections 1-1162.24 and 1-1162. Officials and government employees must file a financial disclosure statement as a means of transparency and to prevent engaging in conduct that violates the financial conflicts of interest statute. Becca is responsible for ensuring that employees and public officials who meet the statutory requirement file their annual financial disclosure statement. The 2024 FDS season is underway. The 2024 financial disclosure statements are due on May 15, 2024. In April, the FDS team sent emails and mail notices to 4,282 public filers announcing the 2024 financial disclosure season's arrival. And each agency sent notice to its competent filers. As of Monday, April 29th, of the 8,882 filers have submitted their statements. Of those filers, 1,594 are confidential filers and 1,538 are public filers. We have been processing support tickets, of which the majority have been due to name and agency changes. Lastly, in an effort to streamline the process of financial disclosure forms, such as waiver requests, destination appeals, and extension requests, OGE has created an FDS tracker using the QuickBase application. Requesters can access the QuickBase system via the Bega website and electronically submit their request forms. Upon submission, requesters are provided a confirmation. OGE staff are then able to access and process the submission. The application serves as an internal storage and provides data on the amount and types of requests the agency receives. It also allows relevant staff the opportunity to track progress of each request in one designated location. Next is an update on lobbying registration and reporting, LRR. Pursuant to DC Official Code Section 1-162.27A, a person who receives compensation or expends funds in an amount of $250 or more in any 3 consecutive calendar 12-month period for lobbying shall register with the Director of Government Ethics and pay the required registration fee. According to DC Official Code Section 1-1162.30, each registrant shall file a quarterly report concerning the registrant's lobbying activity during the previous quarter. Lobbyist reporting has remained steady since the start of the 2024 calendar year. The 2024 first quarter activity reports were due on April 15, 2024. A filing reminder was sent to 373 recipients on March 27. The lobbyist registration e-filing system registered 9 late activity reports, and filing letters will be sent to those entities. As mentioned last month, all registered lobbyists and their clients, informing them that the 15-day grace period that was allotted during the COVID-19 pandemic would end on May 1st, 2024, and fines will be imposed on the day after the filing deadline. A press release was issued as well. Lastly, IT specialist Kevin Brown and program support assistant Niquelle Allen are working to complete the LRR tracker, which will be the equivalent of the FDS tracker. And my last update is on public investigations. We only have one, that is 24-0006F Henry Vincent Slater. This is a formal investigation based on a criminal complaint that Vincent Slater accepted to erase or change the tax obligations of several DC businesses. Mr. Slater was a senior revenue officer at the DC Office of Tax and Revenue. On April 18th, Mr. Slater was sentenced to 27 months of incarceration, followed by 3 years of supervised release and restitution imposed in the amount of $1.2 million. The sentencing order was placed in the Dropbox. Thank you. This concludes the Office of Government Ethics May 2nd, 2020 report. I welcome any questions you may have.
Thank you, Director Cooks. Are there any questions for Director Cooks? And hearing none, we'll move to the next item on our agenda, and that's for public comments. The public was invited to submit comments in writing by 11 a.m. today. No comments were received by 11 a.m. However, members of the public in attendance at this meeting also have an opportunity to make a comment at this time. If there are no comments from the public, we will proceed with the next item on the agenda, and that's our executive or closed session. This next agenda item is a closed session to discuss ongoing confidential investigations pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B14, to consult with an attorney to obtain legal advice and to preserve the attorney-client privilege between an attorney and a public body pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B4A, to discuss personnel matters including the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, performance evaluation, compensation, discipline, demotion, removal, or resignation of government appointees, employees, or officials pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B10, to deliberate on a decision in which the Ethics Board will exercise quasi-judicial functions pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B13, and to discuss contract negotiation strategies pursuant to DC Official Code Section 2-575B2. May I have a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that the board enter into executive session. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, any opposed? This motion passes unanimously. Board members, we will convene next door in the boardroom for the executive session. We will return to the hearing room after conclusion of the executive session to report out any matters decided, finish any other business, and adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
For what?
Okay, the time is 1:01 p.m. and we are back on the record. The board approved a negotiated disposition in matter 24-0050-P in re U Ogbu, and the board dismissed matter 24-0006-F in re Vincent Slater. This concludes the meeting of the DC Board of Government of Ethics and Government Accountability. Our next meeting will be held here at 1030 15th Street Northwest, Suite 700 West, and virtually on June 6, 2024 at 12 noon. This concludes our meeting.
Don't forget, DC Bar tonight, 5:30 Candidates Forum. Free wine and beer and food and good company.
Every one of them. Oh, yeah.